Like usual, we'll start on time. Welcome to, I don't know, formula of handling with kids. Wait, see how everything's gonna go on, and we'll see of what our kids are made of. I can't wait, and it's tough to disassemble one, so it's better to just listen. First of all, like usual, big thanks to our partners. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sticking with us. We sincerely appreciate you and everything you do. Part of the family, just like all of you members and all of us together, that we're gonna come out of this, running. So thank you for everything. Please keep your mics off for the beginning. We'll listen to the speakers soon. So our next event, it's with a friend of ours. We had this event long time ago with Simona. It was one of the most appreciated events. Actually, was in 2014, Loneliness in the CEO Cloud. And I remember Sotiris telling me about this, and was actually in the beginning of me becoming a member. So I was like, loneliness in CEO Club. So it was very, very appreciated by everybody. Now we're gonna talk about our CEOs human too, or who we are, what we do in an unpredictable world. So this event is gonna be next Tuesday. We do that because we listen to you, like always, and we realize how busy you are lately, but also how much we miss each other. So we think that we'll keep one event per week online, but we're also gonna propose to you to have some breakfast that we can meet and in a small numbers and as legally as possible. In a small numbers to actually, discuss face to face. So we want your opinion in that matter, and we would like to see you. We miss you. So this was for our next event, but until then, we please check in our mobile application. Our speakers today, we have two wonderful ladies that are gonna talk to us a little bit about our kids. So as a psychologist and child assessment coordinator at Your Way Counseling for the past 8 years, Simona Cotorobai has worked with over 2,000 young people and their families, helping them with psychological and vocational assessment. Also, for the past 10 years, Madeleine Popescu has been helping students apply for university programs abroad. She continuously develops her knowledge through specialized trainings delivered by renowned universities and organizations. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Simona and Madeleine.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. I'm happy to hear that you have kids and are interested in finding more things about your kids. Okay, good. Can you see it? Okay. So we'll talk a little bit, just a bit, about education. And this is what we have on the agenda. How we can support children during this period. Silent signs to identify your child's stress, and specific traits for every period of your child's development, and how can parents intervene. And then learning styles, particularities and methods of easier learning depending on child's temperament. And here we'll talk about how the brain learns and how can we motivate our child to learn according to his temperament. And in the end, the 4 development directions for teenagers who want to study at a university anywhere in the world. Why did I choose the first two topics? Because as you all shared earlier, it's a very difficult period. It's a new period, and we have to adapt. As adults, maybe it's easier because we already have some coping mechanisms, but for children, it's a little bit harder. So I'll start presentation with the silent signs that show our child's stress. First of all, it might be withdrawal. While tantrums may be an obvious sign of stress, withdrawal is common as well. For example, my daughter, who's 5, okay? When I ask her, do you miss your friends in kindergarten? She says, no. She seems very detached. And at the beginning, I thought, okay, she's okay with the situation, it's okay. But I've noticed that when I mentioned, Emilia, I'm going at the office today, then she smiled and she said, well, I'm going to kindergarten too. So she actually she misses her friends, but her coping mechanisms is to seem detached. Okay, so this is a sign that she is a little bit stressed. Afterwards, disrupted sleep. If this occurs daily without other associated symptoms. So if the child from the medical point of view is okay, but still he has nightmares, he wakes up in the middle of the night, or I don't know, wants his mommy to sleep with him again, this is also a sign that there is something there. Abdominal pain. Some kids complained that their stomach aches, and there's no other medical issue. Okay, it's just the body saying that something on the psychic level is not okay. Also, canker sores, because the immune system is very low because of the stress. Okay, so it can appear also. Regressive behavior. I don't know if you noticed. We'll notice this on smaller children. Yes, they don't want to dress by themselves or eat by themselves, or they want to be babies again, or all these sorts of behaviors that show us that they don't feel safe and they want to go back to a period when they felt okay and safe. Episodes of crying without any reason. I worked with a girl these past weeks, age of 10, and she had some episodes of crying. Out of the blue, she started crying. After working with her some sessions, we realized that she missed very much her friends. After she began playing with a neighbor, all that crying stopped. Okay, tantrums and anger. Anger, especially in teenagers, they become very angry and easily turned on. Yes, because also they don't feel okay, and as we know, teenagers really need their peers, and in this period, although they play a lot games or chat, it's not the same thing. Or on a physical level, children complained that their leg hurts without any other medical reason. Also, we have to be very careful and attentive to any other symptoms that the child might show, and to know that he's stressed. What can we do? Okay. Due to this period of the pandemic, it's best if we do not put so much pressure on the academic achievement. Okay? And the very first thing in a parent's mind is to put the relationship with the child first. Even if you get angry, even if you see that the child is not doing his homework, or I don't know, he's not studying, yes, before you get into an argument, please think, is this fight going to make the relationship with my child better or worse? Okay, because the core thing is that if a child feels secure, loved, appreciated, he will do those things in his own rhythm. For the children, small children, from the age of 1 to 6 years old, the best thing to do is to let them play, to let them explore the environment. If you have time, and I know sometimes you don't have time, but even the little time you have with your child, please play. Play a lot. Structured or free play. Let him be in control and suggest some games and go along with the kid. In this manner, you will fill in the bucket of positive emotions. And when that bucket is full, afterwards you'll see that he will be more willing to do whatever you ask him to do. And of course, because in this at this age from 1 to 6, children haven't learned yet to put into words their feelings. We have to help them, yes, and put their feelings into words. So I know you're angry, you're happy, so that they can learn and afterwards to express themselves alone. From 6 to 10 years old, when they're already in school and they have to do homework and school, establish together a schedule, a routine. Yes, when it's time for learning, time for playing, time for chores. The main thing is here together. Let the child be in control of his schedule when possible, yes, and establish this schedule. Talk about all the things that they heard about the situation and ask them for their opinion. Because sometimes some children, and as you will see later, imaginative children, yes, creative children, can make some movies in their head about the current situation, and sometimes not good movies. Okay. Also, spend time with the children. Be careful about how you as a parent manage your anxiety, because children feel everything that's going on in the house, even though you don't say it in words, but they know when something is not right. So be careful how you manage your anxiety, and even admit to the child that you are stressed also, or you have some problems that you have to solve at work. They'll understand. Okay. And if it's safe, let them play with a friend. This helps a lot. From 11 to 14 years old, it's very important to respect their privacy and the need to be alone sometimes. Let them also express their thoughts, even though you don't agree. And another thing, don't take it personally. Okay? Let them express themselves, even if you don't like it. Don't take it personally. Let them be in control when it's safe and make their own decisions. Also, spend time together. As you may notice, this is a thing to spend time together. Treat their problems seriously, even the small ones. Okay, this is how they will learn to trust you. And if they trust you, Yes, it's nothing personal, it's just business. Okay. And if they trust you afterwards, when they're teenagers, yes, you can, I don't want to say control, but you will know more about their life, yes, and can intervene when possible. And encourage them to keep in touch with their friends, even on PlayStation or whatever games. I really don't agree with them, but this is the time we're living, so better than nothing. And the wonderful period of 15 to 18 years old. Listen but do not judge. Be consistent with the things that you say and do. Let them make their own decisions also. Be patient. Encourage them to find and pursue their interests. This is a time when interests are developed, and they need to find those interests in order for them to make decisions about college later on. And chat with your teenager, kiss him, hug him, let him feel loved, even though at this age they might seem that they don't want this kind of affection. The truth is they want it, yes? So just try and you'll see the results. Okay. We've talked about the well-being of a child and how the emotional state of mind influences the way a child behaves, but also the emotions influences and the stress influences very much the way he learns. Okay, because when a child is stressed, and when we are stressed in our body, there is a lot of cortisol, yes, stress hormone, that doesn't help very much. Yes, the brain is filled with cortisol and it's not able to function properly. So emotion comes first, the well-being, and then the learning. How the brain learns? Well, first of all, human beings are designed to learn. We learn even from the womb, and afterwards, the first 3 years of life are very important. Yes, because the child learns in a very rapid way. Yes, he's like sponge. He learns very quickly everything, and the number of the connections and the neurons are increasing at a greater rate after 3-4 years. I don't know if any of you have small children. At about the age of 4, you will notice that he's learning slower, and you think, oh my God, what's going on with my kid? He's dumber. I don't know. Up to 3, he was learning, and now, well, after this age, the learning process slows down because the child has to make other achievements in other areas, such as social skills. Okay, so after age of 4, we talk about social skills, and he's more into that and not learning numbers, poems, songs, or other stuff like that. Children are designed to learn if the brain is stimulated. Okay, so what does a child need to learn? A rich environment, exposure to different situations, and good relationships. A child who is just left behind the screen or with cartoons or games will not learn. Even though there are many, I don't know, games and programs that say your child will be fantastic after playing this game, the studies have shown that this is not true. a child learns through human experience. He needs a human being that can respond, that can teach him also the non-verbal cues. This is why in this period, many children say that it's tiring, the online school, Zoom. My kid doesn't want to go to the kindergarten Zoom. Okay, and sometimes I understand her. Yes, because she wants to be with the children. She wants to socialize in another way. Okay, but it's again better this than nothing. And we learn better and faster the things that we're interested in. Okay, maybe you've noticed in your children that they can stay hours doing Lego, but if you want them to read something or to do other stuff, I can't do that. Okay. This is because when, and this happens to all of us, when we have a task that we don't like, in the brain there are switch on the areas of the pain, exactly the areas when we hit ourselves and feel pain. Those areas are switched on when I see a task that I don't want to do. Okay, and this is why we procrastinate. Yes, we postpone. But the trick is that if we engage in that task, after only a few minutes, that area in the brain is turned off. Okay, so just if a child doesn't want to do something, encourage him just to start, and afterwards he will feel better. Yes, and continue doing that that task that seemed so horrible. Because we're talking about the brain, I wrote here some tips and tricks for learning. Just a few, because this is another whole subject to talk about, but we can use our brain and our knowledge and to inspire children and to make them learn quicker. So the first thing, as you have noticed, is to cultivate curiosity from an early age, encourage learning from mistakes, and praise the child's effort and persistence, and not only the result. Okay, because in this way, when we praise the child's effort, is something that he is in control of, and he will learn that practicing and exercising a thing could make him competent in that area. And I have a book I want to show you. It's very important to teach children about their brain. Okay, so I have this book. I don't know if you see it. Okay, Your Fantastic Elastic Brain. Stretch it, shape it. It's a very nice book about how the brain works, with colorful images that teach children this thing, that when it's used, the brain and the abilities increases. And for the teenagers, I recommend this book, Brainstorm. Also for the teenager parents, okay, because there are useful information about how the brain works in this stage of development. Practice makes perfect. Yes, we know this. Practice, 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 practice. Because when we practice a thing, a chunk of information, for example, that information is then stored in our long-term memory, and from there we can use it, yes, more quickly to solve problems or to make connections with other chunks of information that we have. So let's take an example. I don't know, your child has to learn at anatomy, biology, something. What can he do? He doesn't want to do it. Okay. First of all, encourage him to find the practical reason for that he's learning this thing. Okay. How can this information that he's learning can help him in real life, in any area or in math or in science? They need to know why they're learning these things. And according to, I don't know, if the child is old enough, you can challenge him to find information even on Google. Okay. And tell you the next day why fractions are important, or why learning about the heart, okay, it's important. After that, let's say he has a test on the subject, yes, teach your child to learn that that subject in different days. Today a little bit, tomorrow a little bit, next day a little bit, then make a break. Okay, 1 day or 2 days, don't study that thing. In this way, the synaptic connections are formed and strengthened. Okay. Also, very important in learning is a good night's sleep. Sleep increases the ability to solve problems and understand the content. When we sleep, our cells, our brain cells shrink, and our toxins are carried away from the brain. Also, very important, the child should use all their senses in the process of learning. Okay, and it's very, very important, the kinesthetic in learning. And then practice a sport, very important, because movement sports also makes the blood flow, and studies have shown that running produces new neurons in our brain. And also use the Pomodoro Technique. The Pomodoro Technique is very useful when we postpone things, yes. But it's also used for it's very useful for children that cannot stay focused for a very long period of time. The Pomodoro Technique says that you have to work focused for about 25 minutes. And then take a break. Give yourself a treat after this. Yes, and this is how the brain will learn to stay focused. Okay. So this is about some things about the brain. Just a little bit. So far we had emotions, brain, and now the child and his personality. And we'll talk about learning style and temperament traits. Because the brain has his own ways, but the child, we need to know our child, how to motivate him to learn according to his temperament. There are 4 pairs of temperament styles: extrovert, introvert, emotional, rational or thinking, imaginative, practical, flexible, and organized. Although we can have traits from all the styles, everyone tends towards a specific style from every pair. Okay, Now I will tell you just some specific traits for every style. Maybe you will guess your child's style, and if you don't, I'll wait to meet you here at your way to find out together. So, extroverts, how are they? They are very sociable. They like to talk a lot. They want to be in the center of the attention, and they do not have patience. Yes, they get bored very quickly. Introverts, as the opposite, okay, they are shy or seem shy. They make friends a little heavier than the extroverts, and they're very profound and analytic. Emotionals cherish very much the relationships, and they feel motivated when they are given positive feedback. As for the thinking or rational ones, that they are analytical, critical, competitive. The emotions are not. They want everyone to be happy. Imaginative, they're very creative. They like words. They see the big picture. Okay, as the practicals, they need to know why they're doing what they're doing. What's the outcome, the practical outcome. The flexibles ones are very adaptive. They go with the flow. They have a very good sense of humor, but as the name says it, they tend to postpone, and they do not like rules. If you tell a flexible, you must do this, well, you lost him. He'll do exactly the opposite. And the organized students, well, they like to know from the beginning what they will have to do, and they don't like surprises, and they tend to respect all the deadlines. Okay, so have you managed to see how your child is?
I think they're all some kind of flexible because they don't want to listen. I don't know. Flexibility in it.
Oh, very much. I think, but you know, it's very important, this flexible thing, this flexible style, with which other styles it combines, you know. So let's take an example, and I'll go. Okay. Okay. Let's see how they learn and how can they be motivated to learn. Let's take 2 children, for example. This one. Okay.
We're just gonna have the books that Simona presented. We're gonna have them in the library as a reference for everybody to know.
Okay. Okay, so let's take 2 examples. Let's take Maria, for example, Mary, I don't know, Maria, who is extroverted, emotional, imaginative, and flexible. Okay, and let's take Radu, who is introverted, practical, thinking, rational, and organized. Let's see. So, Maria will learn better if she works in large or small groups and discuss subjects with others, including teachers who listen and respond to them. Okay, because extroverts like to talk. Okay, are given hands-on assignments and opportunity to talk as they work. If you ask an extrovert to stay still and silent for an hour, well, it's very hard for him to do that. Give presentation to the class or perform other tasks in the public eye. Switch from one subject to another, so that Maria wouldn't get bored. This is very important because if we have an extroverted child, we can't force him, or we can force him, but the results won't be very good, to work at math, for example, for 2 hours. It's like, I don't know. But we can say, okay, look, you will work at math for 30 minutes, then take a break. And if you think you can't concentrate on and be focused on math, please read your history lesson, yes, and switch them. Okay, and do a hands-on assignment before they are exposed to a concept or theory. As for the introverts, they prefer to work, yes, on task alone, do writing, reading, or writing, research, are allowed to not be interrupted. Okay, are allowed to prepare in advance rather than perform spontaneously, and they are complimented on their careful work and reflection. This is very important in a class, even for teachers, to know these differences, because you can't examine a child, an introvert, for example, as you might examine an extrovert, because introverts are need more time to prepare, and sometimes they might, I don't know, let the impression that they are not prepared, that they don't know, but in fact they do know, but they are very careful that the answers they give is the very right one. Okay, so extroverts, introverts. I know it's not working. Okay. Sorry. I did something here. Flexible, organized. Students who prefer a flexible style learn best when they are given lessons and activities that seem like fun for them. When they participate in competition and games, they have only some necessary rules for the classroom, and are allowed to choose among several options. The words organized, that need to know the plan ahead, to have explicit information, are rewarded for their achievements, yes, and are given clear instructions about the work. Oh, ce-am făcut? Wait. Oh, okay. Emotionals. Most of the children are emotional types, and they learn best when they play games in which everyone wins and no one loses, receive praise, affirmation, encouragement. For an emotional kid, it's more important if the teacher smiles at him or says a good thing about him, even better than a good grade. Yes, for him the relationship is very important, and this motivates him. If they are chosen to provide help, such as tutoring other, are given the opportunity to work with their friends, and if everything is given as an example, even in logical subjects that relate to people. The thinking students prefer and learn better when they listen to lectures and presentations that are organized logically, when they have to think and critical thinking, when they can compete, when they receive praise, and not only praise, but diplomas or gold medals. They feel very good when they do that. And when they are given explicit rules and guidelines for the classrooms and for the classroom and assignments. And the last one, imaginative and practical. Students who prefer an imaginative style learn best when they are given open-ended assignments in which they can choose the approach they want to take. When they study concepts, theories, they're good in debating and talking about ideas. They are challenged by novelty, and they are allowed to work independently and in depth on the subjects they are interested in. And the practicals one have assignments that proceed from simple to complex. With a practical child, for example, in math, you begin with exercises that are very simple and do it a number of times until he gets the path, the way that they can solve the problem, and then move to a difficult one. So it's in steps. Do hands-on work, and that requires detailed observation, manipulation, and to create a thing. Are given many examples that illustrate the principle, and are given assignments or explanations that have a real-world application. So if we turn back to Maria and Radu, Maria extroverted, emotional, imaginative, and flexible, yes. Maria is a people person, an artist, someone who needs to be in the world. And knowing that, we can help her find their interests that match her way of being. As for Radu, who is introverted, thinking, practical, and organized, yes, maybe some areas of interests which can combine his critical thinking, practical skills, yes, and maybe working in small groups. Okay. So far, we've talked about learning from different points of view, the emotional well-being of the child, the way that the brain learns, and the child's temperament, and how can we help him study better if we know these things. The next step is to let him find his interests. I already said that. At about the age of 14, the interests become clearer. Yes, and also from this age on, even in the brain is transformed and specialized somehow. So the child needs to find his interests and then to practice, to see what implies, I don't know, I'm interested in science, or I'm interested in journalism. Okay? Okay. What can I do next in order to see that this fits me and to increase my abilities in these fields? And we can help the child also through vocational assessments that help him know himself better and his interests better. Saying that, thank you, and I will leave Madeleine to explain how can we help the teenager search more and discover more about his interests, and how can he apply later on to college.
Hello, thank you very much, Simona, for a very interesting presentation. I have also refreshed some information for myself. I will only hold you for a few more minutes. I have decided to present you some type of activities that actually universities are looking for, because it's a very, I say, quite clear way to understand what kind of activities you could do with your teenagers, especially high school students. What they are looking for are academic strength, putting things in practice, community work, and signs of self-actualization. We'll take one by one, because I have already prepared some resources for each of these steps. But it is important to see how the universities look at these, because frankly, the concept of having a child that has only perfect grades without any substance with regards to what the real world is, it's not a good option for any of us. So first things first. So academic strength is about what actually the student learns beyond the classroom. You could encourage your child to seek his interests in various ways, but please, exactly as Simona said, don't tell him to do that and that and that. Encourage him to discover types of activities that will help him further understand his interests. Usually when I work with students, because this is exactly what I do with most of them when preparing them for admission, and I start quite early, for example, in 10th grade, not in the 12th grade, is to talk to them about, talk with them about their interests and tell them type of activities that they could engage in, and let them find what activities they could do, and in order for them to see that they like it or not. A very short list about how to have better academic strength is to read books in the area of interest. And I know that probably in Romania it's not a very popular thing, because we don't actually have books that are written specifically for teenagers in certain domains. That's why university websites are really, really good for this, because they have reading lists they recommend for high school students, and they're quite fun for them to read, so it's not something that is boring for them. Online courses is another very, very good option, because you have probably already heard about Coursera or edX. They have really good teachers that explain in a fun way and in a very comprehensive way what this and that is, depending on the subjects. Of course, it would be good to engage in competitions, but I'm telling you that not all students will either have the possibility to engage in a competition, or the need to do that, because there are subjects that don't necessarily need to prove that you're really, really good at that. So for example, in arts, you don't actually have a competition. You just have to be really original. And this is not something a competition can judge. Yeah. And sometimes I have already seen some teachers encouraging students to do like really small research projects about a certain subject. The more they engage in such an applied activity, the better. So universities will not necessarily look at the grades, but they will look how much beyond classroom they have tried to understand the subject of interest. So it depends, of course, on the maturity of the students. So first they will start with quite simple things, and it's okay, praise that, it's really, really good. But also try step by step to recommend even more complex activities out of this list. Even more important, at least from my point of view, than academic strength is putting things in practice. So the teenager knows, exactly as Simona said, how what he studies can be useful in our everyday life. One way to do this, and for most students this works, is to encourage them to understand the jobs that are related to his interests. We have resources. I will mainly tell you about the last one. It's on this slide, so it's Prospects. This website is really good. It's created especially for their age to understand the types of jobs they can get if they're interested in a certain domain. And it's quite fun to use. They can add to favorites these subjects, these jobs, and come back afterwards and see if they have changed their mind. So it's a little bit of exploring on the website, but it's quite fun. Once they start to understand a little bit the consequences of their interests, because this is what we're talking about, a consequence. If I choose that or that, this will happen. It will be much easier for them to want to practice on their own skin. So internships and job shadowing also are very, very important for them to see how things happen besides just reading about a job. Of course, in Romania, internship and job shadowing is not something very easy to do, but as long as they at least enter a working environment and try to understand how things work in that particular environment, is already making them ask a lot of questions, not necessarily to you, but to themselves, and furthermore, then furthermore try to answer to them online or with you or with a consultant if they work with one. Another option for Romania is to participate in debate activities. Many high schools have started encouraging this, and I'm really happy about this. Or if they're not necessarily the high schools, then the student councils or some of the colleagues most surely have heard about MOON EYP, which means Model United Nations European Youth Parliament, which helps students understand, of course, how United Nations works or the European Parliament works, but what is the most interesting thing is that they actually have to work on emotion, which means they have to research, they have to prepare their speech, they have to deliver their speech. I haven't seen any student not interested about such an activity once they come out a little bit of their shells. So if you talk to them and tell them you have to speak in public, I think at least half of the people present here are scared. But when you talk to them about what subjects they will understand and further criticize, because many of them like to criticize at this age, they will be much more interested about this kind of activities. There are, as I said, a lot of such activities, and I'm very happy to see that these organizations have also tried and are already delivering the online option of MOON sessions or EYP sessions. Another thing is for them to understand where exactly in society they are, and of course the jobs, the degrees they would like to study, how these will impact the society. We live in a world where for now we have tried to do things very linear. So I study, I go work, and then I start a family, and it's quite a simple way. But in the past 20 years, the world has changed so much that they have so many options for studying and doing something with their life that they very early find out that it should be useful what they choose to do. So a volunteering activity or taking initiative in the house, if they cannot go outside, it's still a very important aspect. So for example, if we're talking about smaller children, maybe encourage them to decide what to do with the old toys. If they get a new one, what do we do with the old ones? And for the teenagers, an example of activity would be, and I've had several teenagers do this year, to try to make their school more ecological for example. Yeah. Anyhow, most high schools, not most high schools, have a active student council, and they try to bring a lot of activities from outside in order to help all the students in the school. So this is always a good option for them to try to enter such a council. Last but not least, it's very, very important to understand that things change. Things change, and that's why it is important to understand what is new on the market, what is new in your domain of interests. I usually give students resources that are video, mostly video resources, and that's why I have put in 2 YouTube channels that are really, really interesting for them. But one other option would be to find a professional association that is related to their domain of interests and see what kind of resources they recommend. So if just a very short presentation, as doctors have a special professional association that allows them to work in a certain country, there are a lot of other domains that have such a professional association. Usually you just Google it, you find it, and most of them have also resources for teenagers. So that's from me everything. I could tell you how to bring things to the admission process, and we have prepared just 2 other resources. So we do have a university guide if there is someone out there interested in admission at universities, both in Romania and abroad. And also one of our partners has compiled an article with free learning resources, online resources, of course. I will also put this on our chat. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you would like now to...
Thank you, Madeleine, and thank you, Simona, for this beautiful presentation. And let me assure everybody that we're going to have these resources online. We're going to send it to you. It's going to be all available in our library. Until then, we have some questions. So the first was from Konstantinos. Actually, I don't know if the event started and Konstantinos put in the question. It's good. So my kids live in another country and I'm divorced. They do not want to see me through Skype. And when they do, they just see me for 1 or 2 minutes. How do you explain this?
Do you know if they do online speaking with someone else? I know that at age of 7 and 5, they really don't like talking online. Most of them, they don't engage in conversation when they are on Skype. So I don't know if it's something else. This is a difficult situation, and I don't have the right answer because there are a lot of things there. But this could be an answer, that they don't like talking on Skype. They don't feel the connection. So, well, they say what they have to say and goodbye. They engage in some other activities. Yes, also I propose to take them with me. This you will have to discuss with your ex-wife and find the best solution for the children. But it is very good to spend time together, not on chat.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the answer. I have a question also. Having 2 of them, is it better to spend some time with them separate as well and not all together?
Yeah.
So
yes.
Should take them in a different direction all the time?
Not all the time, but they need to. Yeah, but they need to have their special time with their dad. You know.
We always, also do our own stuff.
Yes, you have the common stuff, but once a week I go with my father and I ride a bike if this is what he likes, you know, so he can feel the connection only with you. You won't be shared with, he won't share you with the other one.
Thank you. Also for the audience, just step in, just put the microphone on and shoot a question if you want to. Until then, I will ask you extra because we're thinking how in this period of time they miss friends, and not only the structure of school and everything like that, but also friends.
Yes.
How much this interaction online with friends, or you know, should we keep like a schedule on that?
No, it's their social life, and they have to choose to ask them. I don't know their age, but they can make decisions
11
about this thing.
11 and 9.
11 and 9. Okay. Some of them like to be online with the other ones. Some of them just occasionally. So it depends on the child. If you feel the need to talk to the peers or to their friends, okay. If not, you can encourage, but do not push in that direction.
Simona?
Yes. No.
Can I have one question? I have two boys, 7 and 11, and the older one, I don't know how to switch now, because all our lives we try to stay with him, to give him the entire attention, but now we have the situation that doesn't want to do anything without us. For example, he's playing soccer, but now on our yards, when I'm encouraging him to play, to do some training or all of this, without me doesn't want to do it, or without my wife, which she's agreed to run with him. But actually in everything what we encourage him to do, if we are not staying with him, doesn't want to do it. It immediately start to be bored.
Okay, but
very engaged in everything.
Okay, but he wants you to just be there and watch, or he wants to play with you, to play together?
Depends on the situation. Sometimes he needs to play with him, sometimes to watch him. For watching, it's fine, I think, but I have this feeling that he's not so independent. Try to follow his interests by himself.
Yes, well,
I don't know how to make this switch, because I have the feeling that it was our mistake, that we give him the attention and everything.
I understand. From now on, maybe you can encourage him to choose, to make his own choices from, I don't know, little stuff. Yeah, what do you want to eat, to wear? Let him choose, so that he feels empowered and competent. I don't know what your strategy was until now, but for a child to become independent, it's not like independent, but to make his own choices, we have to let the child do this kind of choices. No, not telling the child all the time, you need to do this and this and this and this. Even if his choice is wrong, it's okay. He can learn from his mistake. No?
Yeah.
And now you can also have a talk together and tell him about what you're feeling about this situation in his own, I don't know, on his language.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he will understand. You will go to him and say, darling, look, I'm thinking, I've noticed that you play soccer only when I'm around. And this makes me think that you need me all the time because probably, I don't know, you don't feel secure enough. Tell me what's wrong. I need to know more about how you feel, and then I trust you that you can make your own decisions. I trust you, you know?
Okay, super.
Also,
Thank you.
But you have to do this several times.
I'm sure.
You won't get.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Simona. My name is Plamen. I would have a question on the Pomodoro technique that you mentioned. I have an 8-year-old son, quite extrovert, and having certain difficulties focusing, as you can imagine. This technique, for how long would you recommend to be used? And this 25 minutes time should be changed from time, or how to?
Yes, depending on the age. First, you said how old is?
8-year-old.
8. Okay, so we don't begin with 25. It's too much.
Okay.
25. Let's begin with 10 or 15 minutes. Yes, and you prepare the child and say, okay, for 15 minutes we'll do exercises at math. You don't have to finish, okay, but this 15 minutes, let's focus on that. And afterwards you have 10 minutes of, I don't know, playing together a game. Or the trick is that the brain needs to see that after an effort there is some sort of reward, you know, but the reward should not be something I don't know, materialistic.
Okay.
But time spent with me or playing something with me, and afterwards with time you can increase the amount of time of this technique. But it also needs time because the brain needs time to learn this. Yeah. And when the child is also okay and feeling good with himself and encouraged, he will try his best. The children always try their best to become competent, but they need some time and encouragement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay, another question from Konstantinos. Do you think that the kids will eventually get used to the online environment of education?
If this continues, yes, but I don't think so far the studies shown that the online everything online is not good for our brain. Too much online, it's not very good. We need to use our hands, our senses, and maybe for teenagers, but for the little ones I encourage parents to do activities at home, practical activities, because this is the way the children actually learn, by doing, not only touching the screen.
Okay. If no other questions, I will ask you one more. It's that coming from sports, always we ask kids to be number one. And recently in the northern countries and maybe until some smaller ages in the States, they don't put a lot of emphasis on competition itself, but on the way to compete. And when should that turn into something else? When we should tell kids that it's okay, they need to perform and not just to compete, not to just be part of the competition, but actually to try to win the competition.
Win the competition. And your question is, when do we make the switch?
It should be that switch, because it's at certain age it's okay just to be there and enjoy and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Develop their desire of winning and the failure of the pressure of losing and winning.
From the developmental stages of evolution of the child, after the age of 12, they begin to compare themselves with the others, and the competition in them appears. Up to 12 years, they are just learning, socializing, and after this age, they begin to become aware of themselves and others, and while comparing. And this is a time where you can teach them to become better and to try to accomplish more. But what is very important, you have to set the bricks right, because if up to 12 years old you taught them that the effort is very important, they know how to receive feedback and they've practiced, yes, they want to become better and better, but they need this encouragement and the idea that they can do more if they practice. So after 12 years old, you can come with the encouragement to become number 1 or 2, or it depends on the child's objective.
Thank you for that, Simona.
You're welcome.
Current education system gives enough attention to the emotions of the children? It was on.
Oh, this is a difficult one.
The answer
Konstantinos. Well, it depends, as I always say, on the person behind the teacher desk. It depends on the teacher. If there's a teacher who really enjoys what he's doing and knows his value and he has a purpose and really tries to know the children and to do more than just teaching content, yes, this matters more than the whole system, is the person.
Thank you, Simona. I guess if there are no other questions, thank you very much for your presentations.